You're listening to Wanderlust Diaries, the ultimate travel podcast for solo female travellers 40 and beyond who are ready to explore the world. Join me, Terry Reynolds, where we talk all things travel and why it's so important and what's stopping you from getting out there and exploring the world. We'll discuss the steps you can take now to fix it, empowering you to ignite your curiosity and set your heart free so that you have the confidence to travel wherever you want, whenever you want. Offering insights, tips, hacks, and remarkable women's stories along the way. So come on, grab your passport, pack your sense of adventure, and get ready to be inspired. Whether you're a first-time solo traveller or a seasoned globetrotter, Wanderlust Diaries is your community of like-minded souls, uplifting and supporting women over 40 who dare to explore. Welcome to the podcast. Today's guest is the Tricia Sexton. So welcome, Tricia. Thank you for being a guest. How are you?
Thank you, Terry. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
No, I'm really good. Yes, I've been looking forward to this chat for a while now. So it's great to have you. It's great to have you on. So tell us a little bit about you then. So for example, where are you? Where are you now? Where are you from?
Yeah, so I am in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the US, and that's actually also where I'm from. So back in the hometown, not necessarily by choice, but for now. Yeah, and I normally am living in other countries or other states, but back here for now.
Fab. So I know that you are obviously a travel coach. So I know that,
Yes.
and I know that you're a transformational coach. So, snap on those two. So we've got, we do have similarities, don't we?
Yes.
I suppose what I'd like to start off with is your why. So obviously you've travelled, but what was your why? What inspired you to actually start travelling? And what age were you?
Okay, so I started traveling in 2010. I think I was 21 years old, and I did a study abroad program in Ireland. So that was my first time really like doing things more on my own, not like family vacations. And I think pretty much from the start, I realized how much travel can help you become a more confident and self-assured person and just like trusting in yourself. And that really resonated with me. And I caught the bug and never stopped.
I love it. So Ireland then, a place very dear to me. Practically lived there for a few years. So which part of Ireland were you in, and what took you there?
I was in Dublin, and I did it was like a summer few months study abroad. So I was at the University College of Dublin, just outside like the city center there. So that's where our base was. And then every weekend we would usually travel around Ireland and just explore.
Oh, fantastic. Did you get to go to Northern Ireland as well, or was it just around Southern Ireland?
We went to I'm saying we, like the other students and I, for a group, like, I don't know, something we were doing with school. Like our teachers took us to Belfast and somewhere else. I can't remember the name, but I want to say there's like the word giant in it.
Giant's Causeway?
That's it. So that's where we went in Northern Ireland.
Oh, wonderful. And so what was your experience there? Let's talk about the people of Ireland. What did you think of the people?
I fell in love with the accents. Like every man or woman that talked to me, I was like, oh, I'm in love.
I know,
right? And I think that's uncommon. I don't think many people are like, ooh, Irish accents. Like that's the one. But I don't know. I find it very charming. But that wasn't the only thing there that really drew me in. Um, I think, yeah, the people and the culture was just like very fun. Like I remember whenever I would go out with my friends or classmates, everyone was just having a good time and um always willing to talk to you or willing to like help you with directions, and it was just very easy. It was a very kind of gentle start into kind of travel and solo travel, I think.
I think you picked a really good country there because they're very laid back,
Hmm.
very friendly people, very easy to find your way around. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's just, I don't know, I just love it over there. It's been a few years since I've been back. Um, but the fact that it's just, you just feel like at home. They make you feel like you're at home as soon as you get
Hmm.
there, you know, somebody that you've not really met before, and they just treat you like one of their own. And I absolutely love that about Ireland. You know,
Hmm.
I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that treats you quite like one of their own. And you've only just stepped on the tarmac, you know, off the plane.
Yeah, I know it's very special and it's so beautiful there. Like
Mm.
when you think of Ireland, you think of like the green rolling hills, and that's actually what it is there. Just just green and nature, and then these cute little towns just like tucked in there,
Mm.
and it's
Yeah,
very quaint.
it is. It is. It's lovely. When I used to visit there, there was a little place called Ballybunion, which is a seaside resort. And it was just the cutest place ever. So I've got very fond memories of Ireland. So that was, yeah, so that kind of led you very gently into the world of travel. So what was your next steps then? So you were there for the summer, you say. So what was your next steps then? Was it back to the US, and then planning from there?
So I actually was meeting my family in Poland right after that because
Mm.
our family friend was getting married there. He was marrying a Polish woman. So they decided to have the wedding there, and it just worked out perfectly with like the dates when my school program ended and when the wedding was. And I actually remember before I went to Ireland, and I was organizing logistics with my mom, like about getting to Poland. And I was like, wait, you want me to just get to the airport in Poland and then make my way on my own to the hotel? Like that, I can't do that. And my mom said to me, she was like, by the time you're done traveling and living in Ireland, like it's going to be a piece of cake. Just trust yourself. And I was like, oh, okay. And, and then, yeah, when the time came and I was getting myself from the airport to wherever the hotel was in Poland, it was like second
Mm.
nature. And
Mm.
um, I think looking back on that now, I don't think I realized it in the moment, but now I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of that first little taste of how travel transforms you and makes you into this more confident um and just trusting, like self-trusting in yourself kind of person.
Mm-hmm. You have to, don't you? You know, you have to trust yourself because who else have you got for a start? And you
Mhm.
just have to do it, you know, because these are the decisions that you have to make along the way. So you got to that point, but what was it like for you? You know, when you first went to Ireland, then the first time when you were going to a strange country, was there any anxiety or any fears when you first took that trip?
I think my biggest anxiety was at that time the flight, because
Mm.
I was just like not a good flyer. And I remember having a little bit of a breakdown. Actually, you know
Oh,
what? I think I'm getting my trips mixed up. I think this was a trip to Tanzania. But either way, wherever I was going, it was a
okay,
long
yes.
trip.
The fear is the fear. Yes, no matter where you're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. But I remember
Yeah.
I had a kind of a breakdown, like
Mm,
a bit of a panic attack,
mm,
maybe like a week before that flight. And I'm sure it was because of other things too, but that's where my mind was focused. And then
mm.
after I had the breakdown, it was like I got all of that shit out of my body.
Yes.
And then I was relaxed and I was like, oh, okay, no, I can do this now.
And you were like ready to go, because that,
Yeah.
when I think about when I, went off and did my trip, I mean, I was a lot older. I was 39. Um, I'd only been abroad with a friend the year before, 38. I'd never been on like a girly holiday before at all. And so to do something like this, it was like, but I had all the fear and the anxiety, but it was the excitement that kept me going, because,
Hmm.
I'd rather have the fear of doing it than the fear of not doing it, because I knew it was something I had to do. And it's something that you live through, don't you? And you come the other end. And then once you've done it a few times, you don't even think about it then, do you?
Hmm. Yeah, it's like you can practice it. Or it's like, um when you're building muscle, it's kind of like you're building like your travel muscle, and you have to, just like you build up your body's muscles, you have to go into the gym regularly and nurture that. And so it's kind of the same with travel and solo
Mm,
travel, especially like the more you do it and the more you practice and build up
mm,
that muscle, the
mm,
easier it gets. And I actually just went on a 2 month long, mostly solo travel in Europe and Morocco. I just got
mm.
back like a week ago. And before that, I hadn't traveled in years. I mean, a lot of people hadn't because of COVID, but
Yeah.
I had so many moments of anxiety and doubt, like all throughout it. And I was like, oh, this muscle of mine hasn't been worked out in a while. And
Yeah.
it was harder for me to kind of get into um that solo travel mindset. And
Mm.
it was very eye-opening that like, oh, okay, this is something that
Yeah.
I want to do more regularly so that I am not so anxious about it.
Yes, to get rid of that. But the thing is, we've all kind of been locked down, haven't we, for a few years anyway.
Hmm.
And I think we've all felt that, especially the first time you get on a plane after the pandemic, after everything that's happened. And I think the world's changed as well. When you go to airports and that now, it just seems different, a different place to how it was pre. I'm not sure why that is, but it just is. They're just different places now. They're not the same as what we were used to. And just going through customs and things like that. Um, I think it's changed a lot. And it's a big step. It's a big step to take once you've been locked in your house really for 3 years, or if not
Hmm.
longer. And then suddenly, oh yeah, let's just get on a plane and go now, and everything's going to be absolutely fine. Well, it's not going to be like that. It's just absolutely not. You may be all right once you're on the plane, or, eventually you'll be all right. But to start with, no, you've got that anxiety a little, even if it's a little bit, you've still got that little bit of anxiety. I know I did the first time I flew after the
Hmm.
pandemic. I think it's just a natural feeling.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely think it's natural.
Mm,
What any kind of trip you're going on, even if it's like a family trip, you have that little bit of anxiety of like, things can go wrong at any
yeah,
moment.
yeah, of course. And, this podcast is kind of aimed at solo female travelers, who are around about the age when I first started, 39, 40, early 40s. And I know you're not that age, but the reason for this is it's because I just want the women out there to understand that no matter what your age, we're all going to have that little bit of fear, that little bit of anxiety, but you will get through it. And it's about taking those small steps. So make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself, but you definitely need to do it. Don't not do it
Mm-hmm.
because of feeling anxious or because of feeling fearful, because there are people out there that can help you anyway. You know, Tricia, you're a coach, you're a travel coach, and you're a transformational coach. So for anybody who needs any help with any of that, you know, you are out there, people are out there to help. So I just want to get that across, you know, that it doesn't matter what age you are. We'll all have that little bit of anxiety about us when we
Mm-hmm.
start to do something different, something new. So tell us about then. So you just said you've just done Europe and Morocco. So let's do Europe first. Then where did you go in Europe?
I was in Germany for a wedding again. I seem to go to Europe for the weddings. And then Austria, Spain, and then I went down to Morocco and then up to Portugal.
Ooh, nice.
So it was a good trip.
Any of them your favourites?
Oh, that's so hard. They're
I know.
they're very different.
Yeah.
I spent the most time in Morocco. I was there for 3 weeks.
Mm.
So I think I have a little more of like um a bond maybe with that
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were all great and unique, and I think I also met or was in each place with such different people, and that
Mm.
really contributes to the experience as well. So
Oh,
having like my friends in Germany that I already knew, that was one kind of experience. And then, you know, being in Morocco with
mm.
strangers that then became friends
Mm.
was also its
Mm.
own kind of experience. And I think
Yeah.
to talk about solo travel things, you know, they say, or I get asked, I think a lot of solo travelers get asked this
Mm.
question is like, aren't you lonely when you're
Yeah.
traveling as a solo
Mm.
traveler?
Mm.
And I think the common response is no, because you're never
Mm.
truly alone. You're
Mm.
gonna meet people. You're going to, even if you're an introvert or you're just not as open to talking to people, you're still gonna meet people because there are
Mm.
other extroverts or people that are more open to talking that are going to come to you, and they're going to be drawn to your energy, and they're going to want to get to know
Exactly.
you. And then you
Yeah.
can, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
open up as things go.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true, you know, and I always say this, that even though you're solo traveling, you're never by yourself, but you do have the option to be by yourself if you want to, you know, so if you
Yes.
do want a quiet moment, you know, you've got no one to answer to, and you can do what you want. If you want to go and find yourself a little, you know, quiet corner or just wander off on your own for a little bit, you know, you can do that as well. It's like, I think it's the best of both worlds. I really do.
Hmm.
It's, you know, it's the best. And people say, oh, you know, it's nice to have somebody to share all the memories with and that. Well, you're with the people you're with as well.
Hmm.
You can share all of the times with them too.
And
So,
you're with yourself. You can share that
yeah,
with yourself.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, you know, and also these days, modern technology and all of that, you know, you've got your device in your hand, usually a phone, and you can be on FaceTime to one of your friends,
Yep.
one of your family in a matter of seconds, and there you are sharing the part of the world you're in with them. So, you
So
know, it's
easy.
yeah, I know it is. It's really easy. And of course, when I travelled, you know, many moons ago, we didn't have mobile phones then, and
Hmm.
the internet, you know, just didn't have that. So I literally was, you know, on my own and making friends with the people that was there with me. You know, I didn't have
Hmm.
that option of just suddenly FaceTiming somebody. Um, you know, you just had to kind of get on with it. Have you ever suffered with homesickness while you were away?
Rarely, but
Mm.
yes.
Mm.
Um, it I guess I should have mentioned this in my intro about myself, but
Tell us now then.
I yeah, I'll tell you now. I How I travel is I normally like to go and live in other countries and like find a job there. So I've lived in Nepal for 2 years and Tanzania for a year.
Mm.
And so I have my own home and, routines and life there. And I noticed whenever I got homesick was because I was actually physically sick.
Oh,
And when you're sick and you don't feel good and you're kind of like, oh, I just kind of want like my mom around to
yeah,
take care of me.
yes.
And I think that there was a correlation there with that.
I remember the reason why I asked that, it just reminded me of when I was traveling and I'd been away. I think it took about 4 to 6 weeks, maybe, had kicked in when I suddenly felt homesick. And I was in India, and it's the most awful feeling. There's nothing you can do to get rid of it at all. And I just wanted to be in an instant just home. And if for any Trekkies out there, beam me up, Scotty, take me home for, and I knew that really I just wanted to go home to have a cup of tea with everybody, say hello to everybody, but I knew that I'd want to come straight back. So I knew in my
Mm-hmm.
heart that I didn't want to go home. I wasn't ready to go home. I was obviously just missing everybody, and I just wanted to see them, even if it was only for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I know sometimes you need your people, and then just for like an
Yeah,
hour, and then you can go back again.
I know. It's so true though, isn't it? That's all you need sometimes, just those
Mm-hmm.
few minutes. And it'll just make everything okay. So I remember that. I can't remember another feeling after that. I probably did feel a bit homesick. I think when I got to Australia, I think I got a bit homesick then, but nothing as bad as that first time, where it was just
Mm-hmm.
right in the pit of my stomach and there was absolutely nothing. And of course, I couldn't even pick a phone up,
Yeah.
and speak to anybody or, get onto the internet or anything. So yeah, I tell you what's ironic actually is my first email address was created in India. When I got to
Oh.
India, when we flew in, we went to wherever we were. We flew into Delhi first. I say we. I did start off with a work colleague for a few weeks when I went off, and then I was on my own then. But we went to, we must have gone into a cafe, and one of them said, have you got an email address? I said, no. What's that? Type thing. What's that? No, I didn't know what it was, but I said, oh gosh, no, I haven't got one, and he said, well, I can set you one up now. So I was like, oh my gosh, I've got an email address. And now we just take it so for granted, don't we? I don't think there's anybody in the world who hasn't got a blinking email address now. But back
Mm-hmm.
then, it was like, oh my God, email address. But of course, I didn't have much traffic coming through it because not
Yeah.
many people had them then. But it was a great way then. It was fantastic to be able to connect with those traveling,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously the travelers, you would have an email address. They'd set themselves up with one. So that was great, a great way of being able to stay in touch, but of course not everybody was using those then. But yeah,
Nowadays
that,
it's so easy.
it is. Isn't it great though, that,
Mm-hmm.
because, and I've said this on the previous podcast that like when I traveled, I had to take the rough guide to whichever country I was going to. And it was a big, thick book like this. And I had to take 4 or 5 of those, if not more. And the weight of those in my backpack.
Oh, I
Can you
bet.
imagine? Instead of just having a phone where I've got everything at my fingertips, I've
Right.
got the rough guide to India, then the rough guide to Malaysia, rough guide to Indonesia, the rough guide to this, the rough guide to New Zealand, to everywhere. It's like got all these rough guides, rough guide to Fiji. When you're carrying all these books around, and of course, it's fantastic, isn't it? I suppose my thing is that I did it without, and it definitely was doable because I made it round
Mm-hmm.
and got back. So, it's definitely doable. But today, today where you can, you've got everything at your fingertips. So what we're talking about that then. So when you're going to a new country or somewhere new, how do you research? What is it you do to find out? And what is it you want to know about the place that you're going into?
I'm great at helping other people plan their trips, but when it comes to me planning my own, I just don't. I might get like a brief well, wait, that's not true. I should say it depends how much time I have somewhere. If it's a shorter amount of time, I will plan a little bit more. But if I have more time, like when I was in Morocco for 3 weeks, it was a lot of time, and I was like, I'm just going to let the wind take me wherever. And I would say when I do plan, I look at blogs a lot. So it's people that have their own experiences in places and might have like secret little tips that you wouldn't get if you were looking in like a guidebook, for instance. And then I think another great way to kind of plan as you go is just talking to people and getting the information the day before you're going to go there. I think that's one of the best ways to do it, especially if you're not a planner and you're like, oh, I want to travel. I want to solo travel, but I don't like to plan. Just pick a country, maybe pick the first place you're going to stay in. And then from there, just talk to people and ask either the people that live there, the other people that are traveling there for recommendations. And that can kind of help you guide you throughout your trips without it being like this huge planning session.
Yeah. And, for me, when I was doing that and I was going to a new area or a new country, so if I was in India, very large country, so I'd be going to different areas. I would always make sure that I had the first night's accommodation booked. Always did that. As long as I've got one night, so I know that once I get there, I've got somewhere to stay. And then you just take it from there then, can't you? You either stay where you are or you do whatever you want to do. But I think as long as you've got that one night, you know where you're going, and then that's planned, but not too much pre-planning so that it's not too rigid. So is that something that you would do as well? Or were you literally off the cuff? Just fly in and find somewhere as soon as you got there?
No, I would also find my first place to stay. I don't want to be that off the cuff. I need like a minimum amount of structure just to start and then go from there.
No, exactly that. So I remember when we first got chatting about the podcast, and I said to you, so tell me 3 places that you've been to that surprised you. We ended up with 6, but that's okay. We'll just do 4, right? That's all good.
Yes.
So tell me what I'd like to know then about these places you went to. What surprised you about them? So one of them was Tanzania. So what surprised you? Now, I think, is this one of the places that you went to live in for a while?
Yes.
Yes. So tell us about that then.
Yes. So I was surprised by how much I fell in love with that country. So for those of you who don't know where Tanzania is, it's in East Africa. Below, it borders to the south of Kenya. And I originally went there for about 2 months to volunteer at a school. And when I had to leave after those 2 months, I was bawling my eyes out. I was like, I have to immediately figure out like how to come back here for longer. And yeah, I think that was very surprising to me that it was after Ireland, it was my second time going away more on my own for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
And the people there, the culture, it's very jarring at first. There isn't a lot of personal space, but once you lean into that and just embrace it, it's lovely. Like you can hold somebody's hand for an entire conversation. And while at first, I'm American, I was born with this like imaginary bubble
Of
get out of my
course.
space. So that was
Yeah.
kind of a lot. And I would just remember always feeling so uncomfortable. Like I couldn't even concentrate on the conversation. And then over time, I was like, wow, this is actually lovely. Like I get to connect verbally and now physically. It's like kind of like a twofold kind of connection that just I
Sounds
really
lovely.
enjoyed. And
Yeah.
yeah, I tell everyone to visit there if they can.
Yeah. So what were you doing? Did you say you went there to teach?
Yes.
No.
So I
Yes.
originally went there to teach. And then when I went back and I was there for about a year, I was at a school, but because I was there for so long, I ended up helping to manage the school and kind of temporarily took over for I'll call her like the operations manager. There wasn't a title, but that's like the closest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
So I kind of took over for her while she was on maternity leave. She's actually also from the UK. So she went back to the UK and had her daughter and took some time there. And yeah, so I got to like work with the social worker there and do home visits and make sure we got the kids lunch every day. So it was a kind of unique experience than just your regular like going to volunteer at a school, which I liked.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you? So in the first place, how did you know about getting a job in Tanzania? Where did that come from? Was it something that you'd already planned and wanted to do?
I remember since I was a kid, I was like, I want to go to Africa, this
Yeah.
magical, mystical land.
Mm.
And when I was in Ireland, actually, one of my classmates had just come from volunteering in Morocco. And and I was like, wait, you can go to places in Africa and volunteer? Like, what is this? I was so naive. And
I love
so
it.
she told me about this volunteer program that she went through,
Mm.
and that was Morocco was her second time going with them, and her first time was in Tanzania. So she was like,
Oh.
if you want the kind of traditional, like what you think of Africa experience,
Mm.
go to Tanzania. Go with this company. They're really great at like organizing it for you. So that was yeah, that was how it
Oh,
started.
it's amazing. I love that. Yeah, Africa. I've been to Africa. I've been to Kenya.
Mm,
And I just fell in love with the people. Just fell in
yeah.
love with the people. Yeah, it's just something magical about it, and I know I love it. Um, so while you were there, then what did you get to do? Did you, climb Kilimanjaro or fly over it, or?
I didn't hike it. I did a day hike on it, but at the time it was out of the budget, but it's on my bucket list.
On the
So,
bucket list? Yeah.
yes, I will be back there. But I did safaris and I went to
Um,
Zanzibar, which is an island off the
oh,
coast
yes,
and
I'm dying to go there. Absolutely, I cannot
mm,
wait to till I manage to get over there and do that. I mean, yeah, it just sounds so exotic, doesn't it? Tanzania and Zanzibar. I mean, what more could you ask for,
yeah.
really?
When you make plans to go, let me know and I'll help tell you all the things to do.
Oh yes, okay. You'll be the first person that I'll be contacting.
Yes, great.
Oh, yeah, no, I love that. And what about, when you got there then the first time, the culture and that, was it difficult to get into that? Or I think you said it seemed pretty easy really to, immerse yourself into it.
I remember there was this kind of moment. It was after about a month of being
Mm.
there, my first time, that things just like clicked and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is where I belong right now. And
Mm.
I just felt comfortable trying to speak the language
Yeah.
and just like going off on my own and exploring and meeting people. I would say it didn't take too long for me to
Yeah.
feel comfortable there.
No, that's great though, isn't it? I mean, especially when you're working somewhere or volunteering, and you're actually working with the local people, I think that you just get more comfortable a lot more quickly, because
Hmm.
it's easier to do it that way than if you go as a tourist or a holiday maker, because you're in a different vibe altogether as a holiday maker.
Right. Yeah. And I think like when you get to know the people that live there and get to know them, like their family and their
Mm,
background, and
mm,
they become almost like, I don't know how to say this without it sounding bad, but they they become more like real, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
I know
Like
what you
instead
mean.
of like,
Yeah,
oh, these this is like just the cab driver, or and I
yeah,
think this could happen in any, even in your home country.
yes,
The more
absolutely.
that you
Yeah,
get to know people, the more kind of like real and
yeah. No, I
authentic
get
they
that.
get.
I absolutely get that. And I think this is good for for anybody who's listening to this, who's still thinking about some solo travel or just going anywhere um, out of their own country. I think it's good that they know that they can go with an organization. If you want to go and do
Mhm.
voluntary work, do something like that to start you off so you're not solely on your own. You can actually go out, although you're on your own, you're actually with a group of people that you can go out and volunteer. So you've got organization behind you as well. It's not just a case of, throwing yourself into the deep end. If you're not comfortable with that, some people are, and that's great, but some people are not. And so for them to know that you can do this with a group, that things can be organized and you can go abroad or you can go somewhere else without literally, throwing yourself to the wolves, if that's how you feel that would be. And I think that's a bit of comfort really for some people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is more of an uptick in these group travel businesses
Mm,
that
mm,
are geared towards solo travelers that
mm.
want to come together and meet other solo travelers. So you're still doing solo travel, but then you almost have the friendships built in to the travel experience for you. And then you have somebody helping with the logistics and just curating everything. I actually do some work for a woman that owns that kind of business, and
Mm,
the friendships that have come out of her group
mm.
trips are lifelong. And now
Yeah,
these people are going on their own trips together. So
yeah,
I think there's definitely, yeah, those kind of options to
yeah.
ease into the solo travel life.
Definitely, definitely there is, and there's lots of all you have to do is some research, just get online and have a look for solo
Hmm.
group travels, and just to ease yourself in. Because I always talk about um, you know, women getting into solo travel, but at one step at a time, and how it's comfortable for them. That you don't have to just go and do a deep dive and think, right, I'm going to plane and fly for 10 hours to class it as solo travel and that I've done something on my own. It's not. There are many ways to do this. And it's even a case of just do it in your own country, even. If
Yeah.
you've never done it before, just go 10 miles down the road and stay in a hotel on your own for the first time. The country, the language. If you drive, you know how to get there, the train system, all of those
Yes.
things. So you've got quite a nice comfort blanket around you. But it's still, if you've never done it before, it can still be nerve wracking. So it doesn't have to be this big, great big grand gesture. It can be something really, really small.
Yes, I agree. And it's so fun to do that because you
Mm.
are more relaxed. So you're
Yes,
gonna just be more open naturally.
yeah,
Yes, that's such a
yeah.
good point.
And it's a good confidence builder as well, because once you've done that, and that's what I speak to, my clients about, is once you've done that, I'll say go and I just want you to go 10 miles away. Don't go any further. You're not allowed to. Just go 10 miles away. Just do that. Book it yourself. Drive there. Get the train. And then I want to know all about it when you come back. And they're accelerated. They're absolutely accelerated. They can't believe, it's like, oh my God, that was fantastic. So now they go the other end of the country. They're still not quite ready to, take that flight. But, or even
baby steps.
An internal flight on your own, because that's still a flight. It's internal. So so there's lots of different ways. So I love that story around Tanzania. I mean, I can't wait to go, especially Zanzibar as well.
Yes.
So now the other one I want to talk to you about, one of the other countries is Nepal. Now that's somewhere else, I think, that you lived for a while, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I was there for 2 years.
Oh, wow. 2 years. Yeah. So what was, tell us all. Tell us everything.
How much time we got? No, I'm just kidding.
We've got, at least 10 minutes, we're fine.
I was surprised by the culture in Nepal. So I think I was very focused on Tanzania because I was like, ooh, that was the best times of my life. But then I was also trying to find a job somewhere, and none of them were in Tanzania. You can't be picky sometimes. So this company that I started working for, they were like, oh, okay, we need people in Nepal. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to Nepal. Keep an open mind. It's going to be great. And I had also lived for like 6 months in Thailand right before that. And I didn't mesh very well with that culture. So in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, this is another Asian culture. I might not mesh well with it, but let's see. And well, obviously it went really well because I was there for 2 years, but I absolutely loved it there. And it's always about the people, I'm going to mention the people again because I think Asian cultures are just naturally more reserved. Like kind of the opposite of Tanzania, where they're all up in your space and your bubble and they just want to talk to you and get to know you. Nepal was a little more chill in that sense, but it was like the perfect amount. And I was so easily able to connect with people. I still have so many friends there that I keep in touch with, and I'm really trying to get back there within the next year. And their main religion there is Hindi, and I noticed that it was more of a lifestyle than just a religion. And the temples are everywhere. Like there are temples on every other corner. And people would just be on their way to work, in their suits or their work clothes, and they would pass the temple and ring the bell and do their quick little prayer and then continue on their way to work. So it was very like embedded into the culture. And I just found that really beautiful.
And how do you find, you said you were in Thailand before, and then so you've gone straight from one culture into another one, and they both sound quite different. Like you said, the first one, you just didn't mesh with so much. So what do you think it was with the Nepalese? Is it because they were more chilled?
I think it was more me. I think I did a shift. And I think I had more time in Nepal. So like how it took me a month in Tanzania to feel comfortable, it took me about 6 months in Nepal. And I think that was a combination of, this different kind of culture that maybe I didn't quite vibe with, or, it wasn't as easy for me just because of something inside me. And then also I was living in Kathmandu, the capital city, which is very wild. and congested, and there's a lot of
Oh,
pollution
sounds
there.
like India.
Yes, yeah. I've heard that Kathmandu is like a little more chill version of Delhi. So you can picture that. um, but yeah, I had the time to just get to know the area and get to know
Mm,
my neighbors and get comfortable with the chaos. So I
yeah,
think that was kind of the main difference, is just the amount of time. And I think probably something within me shifted, because it's
yeah,
usually all in us, how we perceive
yeah.
things.
No, it is. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it depends. There are many factors, aren't there, as to whether you feel comfortable or not somewhere.
Hmm.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on, especially in somewhere that you're not familiar with. But the good thing for you was that you were already out and about. You were already out of your comfort zone. You were already out of your own country,
Hmm.
and therefore, did you find that you built a bit of an armor around yourself, as in a self defense, maybe around yourself to protect yourself? Did you feel you needed to do that at all while you were away?
Hmm. I don't.
You know how we, let me explain that a little bit further. You know
Okay.
how when we leave the front door, yeah, we all put a face on. That's something extra when we go outside, as opposed to when we're on our own, in our own home, we are different. So being in such a strange environment, was it something that you did automatically? Was it something that you had like a bit of a defense, and so therefore it took so long for it to drop?
Hmm. I think maybe I was in my 20s and just like didn't care as much. I
I love it.
like yeah, I'm trying to kind of put myself back into my 20-year-old Tricia self
Mm,
when I
mm,
was
mm,
there.
mm,
But like I do remember struggling a lot, and I I have kind of like a general anxiety
mm,
anyways.
mm,
And sometimes that would flare up. Sometimes it would be more chill, just like in everyday life.
mm,
But I think what kind of helped me throughout all my different travel styles
mm.
was having kind of routines and
Yeah.
hobbies where I
Mm,
could kind of use those to ground me and
mm,
to, just find something that brings me joy. Like, I think this
mm,
is a really big part of travel that I don't ever really hear about, is even if you're backpacking around,
mm,
finding something that can anchor you down, whether
yeah,
it's a routine or
mm,
it's just doing something you love every day. I think that
mm,
can really help you to calm your nerves or
yeah,
just clear your mind.
mm,
And I had some pretty solid routines when I was in Nepal, so I think that
mm,
that kind of helped. I also
yeah.
found a hobby that I now still love in rock climbing, and I
Ooh,
dove like headfirst into that, and um in Nepal of all places. So I think, yeah, just kind of having something that can anchor you is really helpful.
yeah. I think what you've just said there, because I was going to ask you about it and you answered it without me asking, is, and that, again, for our listeners, is that, it's about finding something that, and it might even be something that there's association with home, so that
Mhm.
you've got that and it stops that anxiety, and you've got that something that you do, whether it's reading or whatever it is, but there's something that keeps that anxiety, those nerves at bay. But the longer you do this and the longer you are somewhere, the less that happens, doesn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, it's like practicing that muscle. using that
Yes.
muscle.
Yes, no, definitely. So that's great. I've loved listening to all of your stories of your traveling. And obviously, like I said earlier, you are a travel coach and a transformational coach as well. So where can we find you? So if anybody needs to get in touch with you, they need some help, how do they get in touch with you? Where are you? Are you on Instagram? What media are you on?
Yeah, so I feel like my intro, I like skipped over all these things about me. So yeah, I'm a
I
life and
knew
a
I should have
travel
read
coach.
it. I knew it. I should have just read it out.
I know, I know. Um,
Yeah.
it was the first moments of the podcast. You're a little nervous. It's okay. We're getting it in now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a life and travel coach, and you can find me on Instagram mainly at coach_Tricia_travels. It's kind of a long one. And yeah, shoot me a DM or however. I love connecting with people. If you just want to talk about
Yeah.
travel, or if you have a question about travel, or maybe you're going to Tanzania and you need advice,
Yeah.
please. I'm all
There
about
you go.
it.
Tricia is your person. If you are going to Tanzania, then or Nepal,
Yes.
yes, you are the person to come to and ask lots of questions of. You'll be
Yes.
inundated now. But I mean, you're probably like me. I don't care. You can ask me as many questions because I just love talking about travel. I love talking about where I've been, what I've done. And if I can pass any information on to anybody, that makes them want to go out there and do it more, I'm more than happy to talk. All things travel all the time. And that's
Yes.
why I'm loving it, the podcast. It's
Yeah.
been great having this and starting this. And, luckily for me, I've got people like you who have wanted to be a guest on here, just starting out, and that's the first few weeks. And it's been lovely. I've just enjoyed every minute, every aspect of travel as well. And what I want to do is embrace other aspects of travel as well. So it's not just about the good old times and, all the countries I've been to, but it's the things around, your mental health, your well-being, and things, and your fitness, even when you're away, how you can keep on top of your fitness and that type of thing. Is that something that you were doing while you were away? I would imagine the thing is, when you're away, mind you are doing a lot, aren't you? You're not just sat around all the time. You are kind of out and about. But I know when I went away, I made sure, because I used to be into this is a long time ago now, step aerobics.
Oh.
Used to love step. I love it. So I'd always try and find a class somewhere that I could go, and try and keep my hand in.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you brought that up. I actually used to be an online fitness coach for travelers. So helping people keep up with their fitness goals while they're traveling. So I've
Oh,
got all sorts of fun stuff there. I
yeah,
actually think I
you're in
still,
everything. You are, yes.
yeah, I think I still on my link tree on my Instagram, I have like a fitness guide for traveling that has like videos
I think I
and
saw that because when I was checking you out, looking to see what your Instagram and all of that, and following you, I'm sure I saw a fitness thing on there. Yes, I think there
yeah,
is. Yeah. So there we
yeah.
go.
So
People can have
I'm
that. They can download it and follow it while they're away.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Why not?
love helping people with anything travel related,
Mm,
but especially where they can grow internally.
mm,
And
mm,
I think the big part of having a life-changing travel experience is having some
mm,
sort of guidance around it, like a
mm,
coach or even a therapist, whatever it may
mm.
be. But having somebody to help you set intentions and work through those stuck points, and being able to kind of facilitate helping
Mm,
you have a more life-changing experience is
mm.
key.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. And when I went traveling, there was nobody around then. There weren't travel coaches. There weren't even life
Mm.
coaches then. It wasn't a thing back then. And that's why I kind of got into this business as well of service, because I would have loved somebody like me or you at the time, that you could actually go to. And it's such a great thing now that you can do that. Back then, if you'd have said that to somebody, they would have looked at you as if you had two heads, because it's like, what do you mean? Just get on a plane and go.
Yeah.
The and anxiety and fear and all that was, it wouldn't have been a thing. So it's fantastic that we've got that now. And that people can come to us and talk about their fears, talk about what they want. And what I love as well is when you get back. So you can send your clients or whoever it is out into the world and they're doing their thing, but it's when they come back, because they'll come back different. They absolutely will. Their mindset will have changed. And it's about what are you going to do with that now? Now that you've come back, what's your next steps? And I love that journey then, from there.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, what you said about like you wish you had someone like yourself. I had that thought on my travels when I was just hitting a low point. I was like, man, I wish I had me as a coach. And it sounds funny because like I am myself and I have my coaching skills, but I don't know, when you're that close to it, it's hard to help yourself
it's definitely
sometimes.
Different. It definitely is. No, you're absolutely right. You can be there for anybody else, give them all the advice and tell them all the right things, but when it comes to you, when it comes to myself, so we'll just take a spoonful of your own medicine now and again.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, do you know what, Tricia? This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you ever so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a great chat. The time's flown by. So just to say that all of your your socials, all of your information will be in the show notes. Okay, so I'll make sure that they're all in there for you, so that for anybody then who needs to contact you, the information will be there. So once again, thank you ever so much, Tricia Sexton, for joining me on Wanderlust Diaries for today's episode. That's all for today. I shall see you next time on Wanderlust Diaries.
And that concludes this episode of Wanderlust Diaries, celebrating the fearless spirit of solo female travellers who are 40 and beyond. I hope you found inspiration, valuable insights, and a renewed sense of wanderlust. Thank you to all our incredible listeners who have joined us on this exciting journey. Remember, age should never stop your quest for adventure, because the world is waiting for you to explore its wonders. And don't forget to join our community on social media to connect with fellow travellers, and subscribe and review us on your favourite podcast platform. All links are in the show notes. Keep dreaming, keep exploring, and stay fearless. Until next time, this is Terry Reynolds signing off from Wanderlust Diaries. Psst, don't keep me a secret. Please tell your friends and fellow travellers.